Good afternoon, all. I'm Kaylin Walls, the president of the Louisville Forum. Welcome to our October 2025 program. The Louisville Forum programs typically meet at noon on the second Wednesday of each month here at Vincenzo's Restaurant in downtown Louisville. Founded in 1984, the Louisville Forum is a nonpartisan public issues group. We host debates and discussions of contemporary and sometimes controversial public issues that impact the greater Louisville community. For more information on the Louisville Forum, our events, to join, or to make a reservation, please visit LouisvilleForum.org. And now for today's program, the future of Jefferson County Public Schools and Superintendent Yearwood's lesson plan. Today we're joined by Dr. Brian Yearwood, who was named Superintendent of Jefferson County Public Schools in May 2025 and began his tenure on July 1st. Dr. Yearwood was born in Trinidad and Tobago to parents who were both educators. And seeking a brighter future, he moved here to the United States at 17 and was recruited to the New Mexico Military Institute on a tennis scholarship, where he ultimately earned an associate's degree before continuing his higher education journey at Texas Tech, where he earned a bachelor's, master's, and then eventually a doctorate's degree. Dr. Yearwood spent the first 22 years of his professional career in 4 Texas school districts, where he was a teacher, tennis coach, assistant principal, and ultimately a principal. Eventually, Dr. Yearwood was an assistant superintendent overseeing curriculum, instruction, human resources, and academics before becoming the district's chief's operation officer. In 2021, he became the superintendent of the 4th largest school district in Columbia, Missouri, and served in that role until 2024. Under his leadership there, the district achieved many milestones, including a 16-point increase in its state annual performance report, reaching an impressive 86.5%. Dr. Yearwood is married to his wife, Tina, a registered nurse and a father of 2 adult children. Welcome to the forum, Dr. Yearwood. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, our public school system has always been a regular topic here at the Louisville Forum. The importance of public education to our community in the 30th largest school district in the U.S., with approximately 100 of our kids enrolled in JCPS, and also as a key employer here in Louisville with nearly 20,000 employees. I'm hard-pressed to recall a forum where JCPS did not come up in either a question or a panelist response. I know that today we're going to be covering a lot of ground with our audience questions, including with recent news concerning the $188 million budget deficit, federal funding losses, and some maintenance needs, just to name a few. But as is our typical format, we will reserve the majority of our program for audience questions. But before we get to that portion of today, I want to start today's program by giving you an opportunity to give us an overview of, one, your first 3 months on the job, which have been a little eventful, and to also tell us about your vision for JCPS.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that very warm introduction. You know, when I heard we were meeting here at Vincenzo's, I really thought I was going to come to get that nice lamb plate that they have here. And I was, sort of thrown off. I guess I'm not going to get that right now. So I'll have to come back later. But, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. First, I'd like to acknowledge, two again, vital people in the room with whom I would say, I'm remiss to say, my job would be much more difficult without their support. First, I'd like to acknowledge our board president, Dr. Corey Schull, that's here with us today. Thank you for being here. And our board vice president, Mr. James Craig. Thank you for being here today, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. This is an exciting time. Being able to talk to our community is very, very exciting. And most importantly, when I come to an event like this and I see our JCPS students here, students from Minor Daniels and W.E.B. Du Bois sitting here among us, I tell you, that is even more spectacular. So let's give them a round of applause for being here today. Thank you. Okay. And of course, a special thank you to Mr. Brandon Cohen of Applied Science for sponsoring their tables and providing our students with this opportunity. I also want to acknowledge, before I move forward, also a very, very key person, one that's a fierce advocate for our teachers and students. We have Ms. Maddie Shepard, our president of our JCTA. Very, very important, and an ally. Thank you for being here also. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Before I address your questions this afternoon, I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about myself. You heard my resume. And of course, you're going to hear about my goals for the district. Today is day 70 since I began a journey as superintendent of Jefferson County Public Schools. In the short time I've been here, I've been able to visit classrooms, I've been able to visit with teachers, I've been able to visit with our community and our families. And I call it on my listening tours. I wanted to hear exactly what's going on within the schools and how schools are regarded. I've seen children, as I've visited classrooms and schools, dream big. I've seen teachers. Just today, we were at Okolona groundbreaking, watching our teachers pour into the hearts of our students, into the minds of our students. And of course, embracing those families and engaging with those families that truly believe in public education. And every day, I'm reminded that this work, our work, is very urgent and it's very sacred. This is sacred work that we do. People often ask me, why now? Why Jefferson County? Why take on such a challenge such as this? And my answer has always been, you don't quit when things get hard. You know, that's when you really lean in. That's when you lean in. I've spent my entire career, 35 plus years, serving children, leading schools, helping communities believe again in what's possible through education. You heard about the 16-point gain that I left in my past district. We were the most improved district in the state of Missouri in 2024. Took me 3.5 years, but we got there. And that was a promise that I made from day one, that we will get there. Through it all, though, I've learned something. When you're called to do something, you don't question the timing. You answer that call. You answer that sacred call. For me, this isn't just a job. It's a calling that's rooted in faith. It's a calling that's rooted in true purpose. And I came to Jefferson County because I believe in its heart, the history, and the hope that exists here. That drew me in. I see the potential in every child, the strength in every teacher, and the pride, the extreme pride that's here in the community. Those were the guiding principles, the guiding things that drew me here. Now, we have what we need to be successful. We have the courage. We have the talent here. We have the heart to write a new story for public education in Louisville. It's important that we understand that it will take us recognizing and elevating every child, regardless of zip code, making sure every child is seen, making sure that every child is supported in our schools. So why did I come? Because the work here matters. I'm driven by this work. Because the children here, the 93,000 plus students here, matter, each one. Because when the phone rang, I knew God wasn't calling me to comfort. He was calling me to purpose. That's why I'm here. And as I look at my journey, it was almost as though lots of preparation. Yes, I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and by the way, I am legal, so y'all don't play with that. Don't be talking about, let's check his I-9. I have papers. And you know, being born to parents that were both educators, I saw them as they worked with students. I saw that calling. And for me, at age 17, you know, leaving home with a tennis racket and a dream to further my education, where I went from, I call it the islands, beautiful beaches and all that great stuff. And I landed in a place called Roswell, New Mexico. Yes, it was the desert. You're right about that. But I had purpose. I wanted to better myself. I wanted to get a quality education. And that experience, though, taught me discipline. It taught me resilience and gratitude, values that have guided me ever since. So before coming to Louisville, yes, I served as superintendent, and we improved things. And what I found out is that the progress that we made doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people unite behind a shared mission, behind a shared vision, behind a purpose. That's when the magic happens. So at JCPS, our mission is to challenge and engage each learner. Challenge and engage each learner to grow through effective teaching and meaningful experiences in a caring, productive environment. Our vision, the vision for JCPS, and again, this vision wasn't created by me. This is a vision that was created by a community, by staff, everyone coming together, says that all students, graduate prepared, empowered, and inspired to reach their full potential. These aren't just sentences on a paper. That's not it. It's a promise. It's a promise that we must first understand. It's a promise that we must embrace, and a promise that we collectively must contribute to. Common purpose. A promise means nothing, absolutely nothing, unless we are honest about where we are and we are bold about where we're going. Today, I want to share the future of JCPS, my lesson plan, a reflection through the lens of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I'll start with our strengths. The greatest strength of JCPS isn't in a policy. It's not in a plan. It's in our people. We have teachers who show up early, stay late, never give up on a single child. We have bus drivers who know students by name. We have cafeteria workers who serve meals with love. Our schools are alive with innovation, from our early childhood program to magnet schools to career pathways to college readiness initiatives. We have a community that believes in education and people who care deeply about our kids. That's our foundation. That's our strength. We do have weaknesses, because even the strongest foundations need repair from time to time, because there are cracks that do begin to show. So let's talk about what's on everyone's mind. Our budget. If you read the headlines, you know JCPS faces a $188 million budget deficit. That's very serious. And we are taking it very, very seriously. The district has operated too long with systems lacking alignment and accountability. We received ESSA funds during the pandemic, funds that help us hire nurses, purchase buses, and provide things like Chromebooks. But what didn't happen was a plan for when those funds ended. The deficit did not happen overnight. And while, for me, I'm not going to sugarcoat the challenge, I'll tell you this. This is a promise I will make. We will fix this. We will fix this. We'll do it responsibly, with great transparency, and without asking taxpayers for more before we balance our own budget. Instead, we're choosing to look inward, making the hard but right choices and investing every dollar where it matters most: in our students, in our student learning, in student safety. We've built our recovery plan around 3 guiding principles. We're going to minimize impact on school-based staff salaries. What does that mean? It means our teachers, drivers, and custodians are the backbone of JCPS, and there will be no reductions in the base pay for staff working directly with students. No reductions there. We'll prioritize our central office reductions. The first place we will tighten our belts is at the top, not the classroom, because we want to ensure that every dollar should contribute to a child's success story. That's a non-negotiable. Third, we'll preserve the student experience. What does that mean? We will not balance the books by shortchanging our children. That's not going to happen. Louisville students deserve a safe and a very high-quality learning environment, and we will protect that. We will protect that. Transparency isn't optional. It's essential to restoring public trust, and we must have public trust in our school system. Opportunities. What I've noticed over the years is that every challenge brings opportunity. So over the past 70 days, we've began shaping a plan for JCPS centered on 3 priorities now. 1, financial stability and stewardship. Realigning budgets, restoring trust through transparency. 2, academic excellence and school safety, focusing on instruction, not programs, not quick fixes. 3, community trust and partnership. We must build bridges through honesty and shared purpose, like I mentioned before. Shared purpose, which will encompass everyone here. This is our moment to rebuild confidence. This is our moment to reignite passion, and this is where we can reimagine what's possible for every student. That's our opportunity. Our threats. We must also face the truth. Yes, public trust has been shaken. Let's acknowledge that. Years of turnover and fiscal strain has taken its toll. Our staff is somewhat tired. Our families are watching. And of course, our critics are loud. We understand that. We acknowledge that. But the greatest threat isn't what happens to us. It's really what happens within us when people stop believing in that shared mission. That we cannot have. We can't lose belief. We cannot lose that. We can't lose belief in our schools, in each other, and certainly not in our children. We cannot do that. We'll meet these challenges, though, with courage, with integrity, and faith. Because this community has weathered storms before, and every time I've noticed this community has risen. That's where we are. Our top priority remains student growth. We'll talk about that for a minute. Every one of our 93,000+ students deserves the chance to grow academically, to grow socially, and grow emotionally every year. They deserve that from us. Every one, regardless of whether they're behind ahead, new to English, or goal is the same. A full year of academic growth in a year's time. Minimal growth. This works will take a community. We need mentors, we need volunteers, we need business partners to step forward, to read, to guide, and to believe in our children. When a child sees a successful adult who believes in them, hope for that child becomes a habit. And I must say, the greatest effect on student outcomes and student success revolves around adult behaviors. To achieve this, one thing must be clear. Safety is non-negotiable. Students cannot learn and teachers cannot teach if they don't feel safe. We have taken strong steps, installing things like weapons detection systems, expanding training, maintaining a JCPS police department, focusing on relationships, not intimidation. But we're not stopping there. We are reviewing every building, procedure, policies to ensure safety, equity, and efficiency. And our goal is simple. Every student, every staff member must feel safe at school and must leave and must go to and from school feeling safe. That is critical. That must happen every day. Every day. Here's what I've learned about Louisville. People care. People care deeply about public education. The conservatives and progressives alike tell me the same thing in different words. They want accountability, they want efficiency, and they want excellence for all children. And that's exactly what we want, what I want as well. We may differ in philosophy, which is okay, but we share a common goal. That is to make JCPS a model for what public education can be when a community truly unites around its schools. So I'm asking you this. Come visit our schools. Come volunteer, come mentor. Come partner with a teacher. See the innovation and heart in our classrooms. Students coding robots, designing solar cars, performing Shakespeare, and tutoring their peers. It's happening right now. Come see this. When you see that, you'll understand why I believe so deeply in this district's potential. The future of JCPS and of Louisville depends on what we do together now. What we do together now. We can't rewrite the past, but we can write a new chapter, one that values fiscal responsibility, one that values student growth, one that values safe learning above all else. We're in a season of rebuilding. We're in a season of renewal. We are stabilizing our foundation, not by returning to what was, but by building what can be. This moment isn't easy. It's not. The decisions that have to be made are not going to be easy, but it's necessary. And I believe we're exactly where we're supposed to be, at the intersection of challenge and opportunity. Our schools are a reflection of our community, and our community cannot thrive without successful schools. Let's acknowledge that. That's why transparency, that's why accountability and collaboration with all stakeholders are essential. And for me, that is a non-negotiable. Because in the end, the future of JCPS isn't written by circumstance. It's written by courage, it's written by faith, and a collective will. That's what it's written by. I accepted this role because I believe in the heart of this city, its history, its potential. So I ask, let's make good on the promise of public education for every student every year. That's the lesson plan we'll follow together. Together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yearwood, for that overview of your lesson plan. I know you touched on a lot of points that I'm sure in that stack of questions that Lawrence has got back there. Lawrence, I'll let you go ahead and get started with our audience questions.
I will. First, Dr. Yearwood, welcome to Louisville and welcome to the forum. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Regarding first the $188 million budget deficit, talk about how we got here and how we prevent that from happening again.
Yes. So again, we had federal funds that came in, and we had expenditures associated with those funds. But the one thing that we did not plan for was what happens when those funds ended. And that has put us at this juncture, at this point in time. So now we are planning, because those funds have ended, and now we have to make decisions that allow us to get our budget back on track.
You addressed this, but I will ask the question because it's, a couple people have asked it. Will teachers or assistants be cut as a result of the budget? And along with that, what are your staffing and hiring priorities?
Yes. So again, to preserve the quality instructional environment, so our plans do not involve teachers being cut. It doesn't involve classroom assistants being cut. Actually, our plan involves looking at right-sizing the salaries of our assistants in the classroom. For too long, they've been underpaid, and we have to get that right. So again, a part of our cuts will involve, when the dust clears, a look at our compensation for our instructional assistants. Okay. See, I love it when Maddie claps. That's a good thing. All right. Okay.
And the second part of that question, as far as hiring, if you're able to do any hiring, what are your priorities there?
Classrooms first. Right now, we have a freeze on hiring, actually, but we are not hiring, we are not freezing any positions that impact the classroom. So we will prioritize that. We have to make sure that we have our teachers in our classrooms, because remember, our number one priority are our students, and we will do everything possible to safeguard that. So we are prioritizing our students first.
Would you comment on the loss of nearly $10 million in federal funds for magnet schools because of the civil rights violations, according to the administration?
Okay. $7.9 million was lost in federal, well, 9.7, sorry, was actually granted, and of that 9.7, we lost $7.8 million. This is a grant aimed at giving more students now access to high-quality magnet options. I'm passionate about that, so I'm going to go a little bit long. These grant funds were to strengthen the quality of programs in our schools. The two schools were Western High School, which recently converted to a STEM magnet school, right? And Coleridge Taylor Montessori magnet. Now, because of this government, because of this shutdown in funds, we were notified that we will no longer receive reimbursement, $7.8 million, which is being withheld from our schools and from our students. The reason for this action by OCR has nothing to do with the magnet school program. And JCPS is not alone. I've met with several superintendents across the country that are suffering the same fate. Several school districts having their grant funds withheld for the same reason. Our work to ensure equity for all of our students is being questioned by the administration based upon their new and novel interpretation of civil rights law, counter to everything we have seen for the past 60 years plus. As we heard their concerns, I want to pay attention to this. As we heard their concerns, we agreed to make certain changes to clarify our efforts to give all students a fair opportunity. We pushed back where we disagreed with their interpretation, because that's a part of the process, right? Someone says something, if it's not right, you push back. You let them know, hey, this isn't right. What was different this time was OCR's unwillingness to work together at a fair solution through conversation and discussion. It was this way or the highway. There was no chance for discussion, explanation, clarifications. That had been the process for years, to where when you receive things from OCR, you are able to go through a discussion and explain and work things through. That didn't happen. So we are very disappointed in their actions, and we are examining our options, but I can assure you of one thing. Our commitment to equal opportunity for all students will not bend. We are committed to equity for all students, black, brown, green, pink, it doesn't matter, everyone. And we believe our policies do that. Every student, every year.
That leads to a question about, are there ways to refashion the DEI programs under political assault so that all are eligible for its benefits, even if the beneficiaries who qualify are majority, minority, immigrants, LGBTQ, et cetera?
Yes. So again, we were attempting to do that. We were attempting to have that discussion. We were attempting to find out what can we do, what can we correct, what can, we wanted to engage in them. There was no engagement. It was, do this or you're done.
Dr. Yearwood, I know you said that JCPS was exploring all of its options in light of the decision by the Office of Civil Rights. Is one of those options to appeal the decision by the Office of Civil Rights or the procedure that took place?
We will exhaust all options possible to regain these funds. So yes, there's, I know I can't sit here and specifically lay out our game plan, but we will exhaust all options. Why? Because it's all kids that have suffered from this. Producing programs that embrace science, technology, and so on, engineering, and taking that away from our kids. Our kids are the ones that are suffering from this. It's not us, it's not the adults. This is money taken away from kids. We have to look at all options.
The state Supreme Court recently heard oral arguments on funding of charter schools. Where are you on charter schools and why?
Okay. My hope is that charter schools will be on the same, if allowed, will be on the same rules and regs as public schools. In other words, my hope is if they are charter schools, that there is no selection of who they allow in the door and no selection of who remains inside that building. In public schools, we have to accept all. We don't discriminate. In public schools, we have to meet certain levels of state accountability. In public schools, we have to ensure that we have certified teachers in our classrooms. If that were to come to fruition, I hope that we are all playing on the same field and one doesn't disadvantage the other.
But there is a lottery for magnet schools. How would that be any different?
The lottery for magnet schools allows for certain criteria because with a magnet school, remember, it has a certain emphasis. And we want to ensure that a child that has a specific emphasis is allowed an opportunity. The lottery comes about because if you have 75 seats and you have 150 applications, how do we determine who gets in and who's not? So you develop a lottery, blind lottery, and everyone has an equal opportunity of getting in.
Question, yes or no? Please, can your team improve reading and math proficiency from roughly 25% up to at least 50%? And then how and why?
Okay, and that's not a yes/no answer. That's a must answer.
I didn't think so.
That is a non-negotiable answer, literacy and numeracy. So we have plans right now where we're looking at things like data differently. We're looking at measures such as what you call lexile and quantile measures. This is a measure that determines reading levels and math levels for every child in our school district. And we're using that as a measurement to help craft our growth factors. And for me, we're challenging our schools or teachers to reach certain thresholds of growth throughout. So again, that's not just yes, no, that's a non-negotiable. We will improve by looking at data and looking at ways we can improve the data by providing interventions, by providing supports for children that are lacking, while those who are excelling, making sure they continue. And remember, my mantra is a year of academic minimum in a year's time. So if a child is reading, a sixth grader is reading on a third grade level, at the end of the year, they must be reading on a fourth grade level. We hope that is more than that, but that's minimal. If a sixth grader is reading on an eighth grade level, we expect them to be at a ninth grade level at the end of the year.
Related question, what's your plan to address the abysmal achievement gap affecting African-American students and other students? How much money is needed, if it's money, or what is your plan to address the achievement gap?
Yes, by, again, looking at growth data, right? Because the model that we have in existence is basically a proficiency where you pass the test and if you didn't pass the test, you didn't reach it. We're moving away from that. We're making sure that every child, whether it's an African-American, Anglo, whatever, every child is growing. And as children grow, what should be happening? We should see that achievement gap closing over time. This is work that I've done before, work that I've seen. It's in our growth models. And when we focus on growing every child, making sure that, when a child has to take a test, and let's say a sixth grader reading on a third or fourth grade level, they have to take a sixth grade proficiency test. That's not motivating. That child knows I don't stand a chance, all right? When a child is in a classroom and they're being questioned or they're giving work at a certain level, they feel left out. And that's when we see them acting up and they lose engagement. But when we take a child and we take them at the level they're at, and we show them there is growth and there's success, motivation goes through the roof. And we do that with intentionality. So we must grow our children, take them where they are, and grow them and keep them growing. And you'll be surprised. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Within a year or 2 years, children that are behind get caught up. Children that are advanced keep on moving forward, advancing. That's our plan.
Follow-up question to that. Many of these issues that affect student achievement are kind of beyond JCPS's control. Family issues, community issues, things like that. How do you address those types of things?
Strong community engagement with our families, making sure that our families understand the academic horizon for their child, making sure that we provide opportunities for families to help grow their own children, providing certain platforms, engaging with, we have quite a few community companies that engage with us, making sure that they too are on board with us growing our children. Remember I said it's going to take the community. It's going to take all of us coming together. And once we understand the metrics, once we understand the reading levels, once we understand the math levels, being able to address that together, that includes our parents and our community. Making sure that as we look at increasing our mentoring, because that's also another piece. A child may have a parent who may be disengaged because, again, of their own circumstance. But if you can pair them up with a mentor, someone that can give him that hope and that motivation, that's also a game changer. So again, engaging with parents and community, very, very critical.
That leads to this question someone asked. Actually, a couple of people asked this question. What do you need from us, the community, for JCPS to be successful? Volunteering, fundraising, et cetera.
We need ambassadors. We need people, when they're with their colleagues and in the room, serving as an ambassador for JCPS, talking about the positive things that are happening in JCPS. We need our legislators to continue to support us financially, to make sure that they're fully funding areas and things that they have said they're going to fund. Working with us, because I've been to Frankfurt. I visited with them. Everyone, even our critics. That's why I can come out and I can say they all want what we want. They want us to be the best. Sharing data, being transparent with our data and asking, help us to improve data by perhaps reading to a child, right? Apprentice opportunities, internship opportunities within our community, businesses opening up their doors so that children in middle school through the Explore program, children in high school through the academies, who may not see their future can actually go into these environments, be mentored and see their future, and it adds relevancy to what's happening in their classroom. This is why you learn geometry. This is why you need to understand English at this level. This is why you need to understand perhaps a foreign language that allows you to be more bilingual. We have to give students purpose, but it takes our community coming together, rallying together to make that happen.
You mentioned transparency. Would you comment on a potential, and maybe more than potential now, I don't know, state audit from State Auditor Allison Ball?
The audit is happening right now. I haven't seen, the outcomes are still there, but they're asking questions. And I look forward to that. Because like I said, we are going to be transparent. I'm sure they'll find some positives and they'll find some negatives. They'll find opportunities. That's why you do an audit, right? It's to find out where your opportunities are. And I'm going to embrace that audit as an opportunity to fix, to transform, and help carry your school district forward. And I'll do that with transparency. So I look forward to that audit.
What potential do you see to expand JCPS's community schools program? And please discuss the idea of community schools generally.
Yes. Community schools, how do you define community schools? I'm just curious. Is there a definition? All right.
There's no definition on the question.
Okay, I'll try to define community schools. I'll define community schools as neighborhood schools. I think that's what we're aiming at, right? Every school in our school district must be a quality school. I rail against those who put labels on schools and say this school is a bad school or that school is a bad school. If someone is saying that, help me fix it. I want schools, because think about it, when you say a school is bad or whatever, you're putting a label not on that school, but on the children and the teachers that are in that school, the teachers that come early, stay late, spend their money, that dedicate themselves to that school. And no school deserves that. So my plan is that we are going to ensure that every school is an attractive school. Every school offers their neighborhood, their children, a quality experience. I know for me, I remember it takes me back to my first experience as a principal, where I had 90-something% poverty, predominantly black and brown students. But hearing my parents, this is when, I tell you, this was, I call it the creme de la creme. Dr. Yearwood, I would hear from my parents, my child is waking me up to get to school on time. My child is waking me up to get to school. Just think about that. That's the environment we must cultivate at every school. And we will get there. Looking at programs, looking at culture, surveying, talking to parents, talking to teachers, and looking at our community. What else can we do together? That's what I believe.
What is your view on the policy of allowing students to receive 1 hour of religious or biblical instruction for 1 hour a week outside of school? All
right, I'm going to say this. I'm a man of faith. And I believe that we have to respect individuality in our schools. I believe that faith is important, like I mentioned before. Without faith, we are dead. So my take is, yes, I believe it's needed, but I believe that we should respect individuals' beliefs within our schools, because it's not a one-size-fits-all.
You mentioned previously the legislature. What are your legislative priorities? What do you want to see the legislature do in the coming session regarding education and specifically JCPS?
Yes. So what I'd love to see happening is that, like I said, making sure that our funding formula is truly adequate. For example, we have increased in our multilingual learners here in JCPS. Years ago there was 400 and 1,000. Now we're up to 22,000 students, and that requires specialized services. That requires teachers that have a certain level of specialization. That requires specialized curriculum. I don't think we have done an adequate job with, again, that formula there. So looking at a formula, transportation is another big one, right? Fully funding the promises that were made to fund our transportation within our school district. Also very important, right? Looking at things like there's a one that called ECAP, one that was brought to me by the fierce Maddie, and one that I fully embrace. And what does that mean? That right now there's funds out there that only private sectors can access, that says, for example, if childcare is $1,000, state would pay $400, the employer $400, and the employee would pay $200. I think that's a plus that will help us as we navigate our budget and recruitment of quality teachers. And what I'm asking for is that those funds also become accessible to public sectors like us, because we have teachers and we still don't pay our teachers enough. We pay them well compared to the others, but come on, long term, I'd love to see teachers' compensations up there. So opportunities like that to help offset childcare and things like that, I think are needed.
I just got this question, but it fits right in with the General Assembly issue, because they've talked about this. What about breaking JCPS up into 2 or more districts?
And that one I have, thought through. I've like, okay, what does that mean when you talk about splitting JCPS up? So I give some thought to that question. I believe that is a symptom of, I call it a level of historical frustration with JCPS and its outcomes. I think under my leadership, we can and will show them that JCPS can and will be successful without that intervention. We are already seeing success on things like school security and safety, and I believe that we will make academic progress as well. Representative Nemus, who I respect, has promised me a grace period for the upcoming legislative session, which I appreciate. But that comes with expectations on my part as well. He wants to see things improve, so do I. The things that he mentioned, academic safety, I want the very same things, and he was spot on with that. And I applaud him for that. Overall, I think our size is an asset, not a weakness. And we are already the most cost-efficient front office in the state, and my budget reductions will increase that advantage. I don't think anyone in this room wants to see their taxes go up just so we can hire more superintendents, more chief academic officers, more chief of technology officers, more chief financial officers, and so on. No one wants that. Every school will need that. Every district will need that. Okay.
Something else you touched on earlier, but can you expand on your plans to mitigate the violence in the schools and talk about, along with that, effective discipline in the schools.
Yes. Let me address a bit of a misconception I've heard since I've arrived, that there are things like no ramifications for students who misbehave because JCPS doesn't expel students. I want to address that. We have multiple alternative schools for students who can't find their place in a regular classroom. So it's not that we're expelling them. You know, we don't believe in abandoning students. That's what I'm trying to say. That will only create what they call poor outcomes for them and for our community. Instead, we want to put them in a school environment where they can find success, where they can reconfigure, where they can learn about certain behaviors that will allow them to be successful, whether it's de-escalation, self-monitoring behaviors, and so on. You know, we have schools like mine and Daniels, where we educate students involved in the juvenile justice system. We have students who have been disruptive in prior schools. We need to look at those programs and make sure that we're enhancing the things that are going on there. Maybe the answer is virtual alternative. But regardless of the setting, we must give resources and services that are needed for children to succeed. We can't just put students out and hope that they change behavior. We have to re-engage. We have to ensure students, number one, when a child, remember this, and it's my philosophy, when a child shows inappropriate behavior, cause and effect, is it trauma? What is it? Is it poverty? What is causing that? We have to stop and take a look at that. But one thing we cannot do is we cannot punish a child's education because of that behavior. We can't stop a child from learning math, reading, because of inappropriate behavior. We have to keep educating them, right? So, yes, my plans are to ensure that our schools, our alternative schools, are properly prepared and have what they need to continue to be successful. I do have a rule that I'm strongly against any violence in schools. I don't want any of that. Right now, I'm exploring ways to deal with that within schools. I'm working with our legal team, our student services team, to put some things in place that would allow students to really think twice about bringing any form of violence into our schools.
You mentioned virtual alternatives. Weren't those proven, and I may be wrong, weren't those proven ineffective during COVID?
I wasn't here during COVID. A lot of things may not have been effective during COVID, but why? Because I don't think we have ever had that experience before. So a lot of things were being tried for the first time, and we were rewriting things as they were happening. So I cannot unequivocally say that the online environment doesn't work. There are school districts that are solely bent on AI, on technology, on online environment. There are virtual schools that are thriving because of that. The advent of AI in our schools, it's blossoming, and it's not going anywhere. So to say virtual schools are not effective, I think that may not be accurate.
I love how these questions tie with what you're talking about. This questioner says, I have 3 JCPS students, 2 middle school, 1 high school. How do you see artificial intelligence affecting the educational experience before graduation?
Oh, absolutely. How many of you have used ChatGPT? How many of you have admitted? No, I'm just kidding. No, let's not go there. You know, we have to embrace AI. I think it's a wonderful tool, but we must teach our children the ethics of using AI. We must train our teachers in how they can embrace AI to promote critical thinking, to promote application of learning. So again, AI is here to stay, and we as an educational entity must embrace AI because it can elevate learning. it can allow for thinking and innovations in areas that we have not seen before. I don't know if you followed it, but there's students out there that are taking AI to the next level by looking at formulas and proven and going back and proven certain unproven theories and things like that through the use of AI. So I think we must embrace AI in our schools.
And Lawrence, I think we have time for maybe one more question.
We're not going to get to all these questions, so I'll ask the one that's a good closing question. And that is this: what is the one bold thing you plan to do in 2026?
Make sure that every child in our school district is reading at or above grade level when they graduate from our school district.
That will lead to a bunch of other questions, but we don't have time for those. So
Yeah, well,
thank
actually,
you.
Lawrence, I think we can do one more. Yeah, that was a short and sweet answer. Profound, of course, but we do have time for one more.
Okay, the question is, that's a great statement, but how? I mean, what steps will you take? And that may be longer than you have to
And
take.
I'll actually add to that, how and coupling that with certain cuts that are going to have to be made to various services, vendors, things like that, in the
Yes.
face of the deficit.
Yes, so the how is, I believe in looking at our data. Our data tells a story. So ensuring that we have the right data in front of the right hands. And remember I said, no cuts in our classrooms. So we're not cutting teachers. So we are going to train and equip our teachers to understand the data, to know the data, right? To make changes based upon the data, looking at interventions and progress measures and things like formative assessments so that they can improve the data. Because at the end, we must be able to get to a point where we are celebrating our data with the growth and the successes of our students. That is the plan. Know, improve, celebrate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yearwood, for joining us today.
So I can get my lamb?
You can get your lamb. You can get your lamb. We will have a lunch for you. And hopefully we'll have that ready next time for the forum. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Stay tuned for our program next month. It's going to be a legislative preview. We look forward to welcoming you then. Have a great rest of your day.